this video I'm going to show you how to stitch a handbag out of leather. It's not something I do very often, but it's nice to do one every now and again. Now a lot of the techniques I'm going to be using you will already have seen in my other videos, so I'm not going to bother spending too much time looking at those, but instead I'll concentrate on techniques that you wouldn't have seen before, and then hopefully if you watch these and the other videos as well, between all of them together you should be able to make a fairly decent job of it yourself. So here's the front, here's the back with the top, that'll be the bottom, and I just need to cut all the various other bits and pieces that I need, and then once I've cut all the pieces of leather out, then the next job is to treat all the edges. What we're doing is coating this raw edge with a little bit of dye, like that, and then we'll quickly give it a polish. It won't make it super shiny, but what it does is it just finishes that edge just nicely. So this piece I'm doing now, this is going to be the handle for our handbag. So we need to cut out these little bits here using a saddler's knife. These are very, very sharp, so you keep your fingers well out the way. And then what happens is that piece goes there like that, and that goes back, well, it really goes like that, and then that bit sews over the top. And just like every piece of leather I ever do, we put a crease down the edge. This just adds a bit of decoration and strengthens the edge ever so slightly. And then the last job is to mark this out ready for stitching. So first of all, I run a little line down there to where I can see the stitch marker. And on this occasion I'm going to mark it so I put 6 stitches to the inch. So that then is the piece of leather that we need for the handle. It's been cut, it's been dyed and polished, we've put a crease down the edge, we've marked it for stitches, and we're ready to put our loop on the end. So all we've got to do now is stitch that together. So as you can see, I'm holding the piece in this clamp, which is called a saddler's clamp. And I make the holes with an awl, and then using 2 threads I'm coming in from both sides using a saddler's stitch. Pulling it nice and tight as we go. The temptation is to try and make too many holes at once and go shooting ahead, and if you do that it all goes terribly wrong. So try and avoid that temptation. Instead, just accept that it's going to take a long time to do it. And sit back, listen to the radio, and away you go. So here you go, you can see that I've now made myself a handle. In fact, I've made a pair of handles. It takes about an hour a handle to do something like this, and I must admit I hated every minute of it, but we will have to suffer for our art somewhere. When you're making a bag like this, you need to start thinking through the processes to work out which is the best way to actually assemble it. The temptation is actually just to make the bag first, and then you'll put all the extras on afterwards. But that makes life very difficult for yourself. So the reason I made the handles first, which is really the last piece I actually need, is because these now need to be sewn onto the front and the back of the bag before I actually start to assemble the bag. So I've made myself some little pieces of leather like this, which I'm then going to go through like that. And these I will fix onto the front of the bag like so. So what you do is you get the strap where you want it, and then you just tack it into position like this. And it's never a bad idea just to check to make sure you've got it all square. So whilst you weren't watching, I've sewn the strap onto the front of the bag. I've also done one on the back of the bag, and obviously that's going to go like that. And the other thing you might want to check is to make sure you have actually got straps the same height, because it will be very embarrassing if you get it wrong. Now the last thing we need to do before we assemble the bag is I'm going to be making a little buckle to fit in there, and I've made a little strap already, as you can see, and I've got my buckle in place, and that's all fits quite nicely, and I just need to make a little keep. Now I've cut a piece of very thin leather, this is about 6mm thick, and I just need to skive the back. I don't want this to be too thick. So using the saddler's knife, I'm just taking a little bit of thickness off the back of that. But that's about right. So I want to crease down the edges just to give it a bit of decoration. And then I'll quickly stain and polish the edges, and we'll be ready to start assembling that like so. See, that's now finished. That's a much better looking thing than having a bit of a brass keep there and a couple of rivets, isn't it? Do the job properly. So having made our little buckle and strap, we now have to consider where it's going to go on the front of the bag. We could put it in the middle there so that it lines up with the handles, but I get the feeling that if you put it there, it makes it quite hard to actually do it up, because you're going to keep catching yourself on the handles. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to take it as far this way as I physically can, and then we'll have a strap that will come through here. We'll put a long strap through here so that it bends over onto here. That's the front of the bag finished, so now we can turn to the sides. Now for some of the other bags that I've done a continuous strip all the way around the outside, but it means you end up with a very rounded corner here. So what I'm trying to achieve is much more angular corners, so I've cut the sides in sections, which I'm now going to sew together. So I'll sew it along there and then open it up, and that will give me some quite nice angles. Now what I've now done is I've tacked it along the bottom here just to hold it all in place, and I shall start sewing, but unusually I shall start sewing from the middle and come out. Normally I would start from the end and work my way all the way along, but because I'm trying to get a very straight shape, I'm going to start from the middle and work my way out that way. So through the magic of video, you can see I've now stitched our bag all the way around the sides, and that's starting to look like a very nice bag. The idea is that bit is going to go around there. So the last job we need to do is to make a little strap to go there. Well, at last that's the final stitch done. So we'll just cut off those edges. So there you are, that's our finished bag. I think you'd agree, that doesn't look bad. I'm rather proud of that, and I think I should be making a few more of those. You can take the same design, you can make it bigger, and that will make a nice overnight bag. Obviously you can make it much thicker. You could always put a little pocket on the side there. There's all sorts of things you could do with this basic design. So thank you very much for watching. If you've enjoyed this, have a look at some of the other ones on my channel. You never know, there might be one or two others you might like. Thanks for watching. Bye bye.